We begin with that developing story tonight. The Pentagon acknowledging a major mistake, sending live anthrax from a facility in Utah. They sent samples to 9 states. One even sent overseas to South Korea. They thought that the samples, the spores, were dead, but tonight one of those samples was in fact live anthrax. And now the urgent effort to test the others. The Pentagon saying there is no risk to the general public. Dr. Besser is standing by. But we begin with ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, state health departments are racing to make sure no one has been contaminated by anthrax accidentally shipped from a military weapons facility. And the Centers for Disease Control is on the ground in Utah working to find out how and why the Pentagon shipped commercially some live anthrax spores from a facility in Utah to labs in 9 states and another in South Korea. So far, health officials say the risk for exposure to the deadly biological agent is low. But health and research officials have fanned out to all those labs to see how the material was handled and if personnel were exposed. The Defense Department normally ships live anthrax at high levels of biosecurity. But in this case, they were shipped at a lower level because the spores were thought to be dead. Anthrax is considered a potential biological weapon, as the nation saw in a nightmare that unfolded soon after the 9/11 attacks, when 5 people were killed and 17 were infected.
And Pierre Thomas with us live now from Washington. And Pierre, no signs of any illness from this tonight.
David, no signs of illness at the labs in those 9 states, but the scientists who work with the anthrax are being offered antibiotics as a precaution.
All right, ABC's Pierre Thomas leading us off tonight. Pierre, thank you. And ABC's chief medical editor, Dr. Richard Besser, is here. And Rich used to run the CDC's anthrax unit, and you were telling me earlier that when anthrax is inhaled, you have an 85% fatality rate?
That's right. You know, this is a big deal, and not because anyone has gotten sick, but the potential was there. You're allowed to ship anthrax through commercial means like this, but when you do, the precautions are very different. If one of these packages had burst open in transit, it could have been deadly.
And they thought that these spores were dead, but were not?
Exactly. They're going to be trying to figure out now, how did it happen that live spores were shipped out?
All right, Rich, and you'll stay on this. Thanks so much.